Maria walked through the tall glass doors of Techno Global Industries every evening at exactly 6:30. She carried her cleaning cart, wore her blue uniform, and kept her head down just like she had for the past 8 years. To everyone who worked in this fancy building, she was just part of the background. Another cleaning lady who made sure their desks were spotless and their trash cans were empty. But Maria had a secret that nobody knew. Actually, it wasn't really her secret. It belonged to her 16-year-old daughter, Sophia. And on this particular Thursday evening, that secret was about to change everything. The building was usually empty by the time Maria started her work. All the important people in their expensive suits had gone home to their big houses. The executives, the managers, the people who made decisions that affected thousands of lives, they were all gone. That's how Maria liked it. Quiet. Peaceful. No one looking at her like she didn't belong, but tonight was different. Jonathan Mitchell, the CEO of the entire company, was still in his corner office on the 40th floor. He had been there since early morning, preparing for what might be the biggest presentation of his career. Tomorrow, he would fly to Mexico City to meet with potential business partners. The deal could bring millions of dollars to his company. There was just one problem. Jonathan's Spanish was terrible. He sat at his massive desk trying to pronounce basic phrases from a language learning app on his phone. Buenos dias, he said slowly, his American accent making the words sound clumsy. He tried again. ¿Cómo está? ¿Usted? It still didn't sound right. Jonathan was getting frustrated. He was a smart man. He had graduated from Harvard Business School. He could analyze complex financial reports and make million-dollar decisions without breaking a sweat. But learning a new language? That was proving much harder than running a company. He decided to take a break and walked toward the employee break room to get some coffee. As he got closer, he heard voices. Someone was having a conversation in what sounded like perfect Spanish. The words flowed so naturally, so beautifully, that it made his own attempts seem ridiculous. Jonathan stopped, walking. He listened more carefully. The Spanish conversation ended, and then he heard English. But not just any English. This person was explaining something about mathematics, using terms that even impressed him. Then, without any pause, the voice switched to what sounded like Chinese. His curiosity got the better of him. Jonathan quietly moved closer to the break room and peeked inside. What he saw surprised him completely. Maria was there, emptying trash cans and wiping down tables. But sitting at one of the small tables was a teenage girl with long dark hair, surrounded by textbooks and notebooks. She had a phone pressed to her ear and she was speaking in rapid, fluent Chinese. Not the basic phrases you might learn from an app, but complex, detailed conversation about what sounded like a science project. Jonathan recognized the girl immediately. He had seen her before, always quietly following her mother through the building after school. He had assumed she was just waiting for her mom to finish work. He never imagined she was doing anything important. The girl finished her Chinese conversation and immediately dialed another number. This time, she spoke in French. Again, not simple phrases, but sophisticated discussion about what appeared to be a history assignment. She was helping someone understand the causes of World War I, explaining complex political situations with the ease of a college professor. Jonathan couldn't believe what he was hearing. He stayed hidden, watching and listening as this teenager continued making phone calls. After French came Portuguese. She was talking to someone about Brazilian literature, discussing themes and symbolism in books that Jonathan had never even heard of. Then came German. The girl was helping someone with a translation project, effortlessly switching between German and English to explain subtle differences in meaning. Her pronunciation was perfect. She spoke like someone who had lived in Germany for years, but she wasn't done. Next came Italian. This time she was discussing Renaissance art, describing paintings and sculptures with the knowledge of an art history expert. She knew details about famous artists that would impress museum curators. Jonathan's mouth was hanging open. Who was this girl? How did she know all these languages? And how was she speaking them so perfectly? The Italian conversation ended. and the girl answered another call. This time she spoke Arabic. Not the simple greetings you might learn from a book, but complex discussion about Middle Eastern politics and culture. She was helping someone write a paper about economic development, using vocabulary that would challenge university students. After Arabic came Japanese. The girl was now explaining calculus concepts, walking someone through mathematical equations over the phone. She drew diagrams on a piece of paper while she talked, her handwriting neat and organized. Jonathan could follow some of the math from his business background, and he realized she was teaching advanced concepts that most high school students never learn. Finally, the girl made one last call. This time, she spoke what sounded like Hindi. She was discussing philosophy, talking about ancient texts and their modern applications with the depth of understanding that comes from years of study. 9 languages. Jonathan had counted 9 different languages, and this girl spoke them all like they were her native tongue. She wasn't just translating words. She was thinking in each language, understanding cultural contexts, explaining complex ideas with ease. When the last phone call ended, the girl looked up and noticed Jonathan standing in the doorway. Her face immediately turned red with embarrassment. She quickly gathered her books and papers, looking like she wanted to disappear. Maria noticed the CEO staring at her daughter and immediately panicked. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Mitchell," she said, quickly rushing over with her cleaning supplies. "Sophia was just doing her homework. She'll leave right now. Please don't be angry." But Jonathan wasn't angry. He was amazed. He raised his hand gently and said the words that would change everything. "Wait, I need to ask you something." Sophia looked terrified. She had never spoken to the CEO before. She had barely spoken to anyone in the building except her mother. She was just the janitor's daughter, someone who wasn't supposed to be noticed. Maria stood protectively near her daughter, still worried that they were in trouble. She had worked so hard to keep this job. Her family depended on the income, and she couldn't afford to lose it because Sophia had disturbed the big boss. But Jonathan's voice was gentle, not angry. He pulled out a chair from the break room table and sat down, making himself at the same level as Sophia. It was something he had learned in business school about making people feel comfortable. But this time, it wasn't a business technique. He was genuinely curious and wanted to understand. "How many languages do you speak?" he asked softly. Sophia glanced at her mother nervously. Maria gave her a tiny nod, encouraging her to answer. 9, Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible. Jonathan leaned forward slightly. 9 languages? That's incredible. How did you learn them? Sophia's voice got a little stronger as she began to explain. "I started with Spanish at home with my mom. Then I learned English when we moved here 8 years ago. After that, I just kept learning more. I use free websites, library books, and I help kids at school who speak different languages. When I help them with their homework, I learn their languages too." "But you weren't just speaking those languages," Jonathan said. "You were teaching advanced subjects. Calculus in Japanese, art history in Italian. How do you know all that?" Sophia's eyes lit up a little as she talked about her favorite subject, learning. "I love to learn everything. I watch university lectures online for free. I read textbooks from the library. When I help other students, I have to understand their subjects really well first. So I study everything: math, science, history, art, philosophy. Learning languages helps me understand different ways of thinking about the same ideas." Jonathan was quiet for a moment, processing what he had just heard. This 16-year-old girl, sitting in an office break room while her mother cleaned floors, was more educated than most of his college-educated employees. She had taught herself languages and subjects that universities charge thousands of dollars to teach. "What do you want to do after high school?" he asked. Sophia's expression changed. The excitement in her eyes dimmed a little. "I want to study international relations and linguistics in college. I want to help people from different countries understand each other better. But," she trailed off, looking at her mother. "But what?" Jonathan prompted gently. Maria answered for her daughter. "College costs too much money. We can't afford it. Sophia works at the grocery store after school to help pay our bills. She's smart, but smart doesn't pay for college. Jonathan felt something twist in his chest. Here was a brilliant young mind, capable of incredible things, held back only by money. He thought about his own path to success. His parents had paid for his education. Doors had opened for him not because he was the smartest person in the room, but because he had been born into opportunity. "What if I told you that being smart could pay for college?" he said quietly. "What if there was a way?" Both Maria and Sophia stared at him, not understanding what he meant. Jonathan stood up slowly. His mind was already racing with possibilities. "I need to think about something. Can you both meet me in my office tomorrow after school?" Sophia nodded, still looking confused and a little scared. "Don't worry," Jonathan said with a smile. "You're not in trouble. Actually, I think you might be the answer to a problem I didn't even know I had." As he walked back to his office, Jonathan's frustration with learning Spanish seemed silly now. He had just discovered something much more valuable than language skills. He had found potential, raw, incredible potential that was being wasted simply because of circumstances. That night, Jonathan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Sophia's voice switching effortlessly between languages, her deep understanding of complex subjects, her genuine love of learning. He thought about Maria, working 3 jobs to support her family, proud of her daughter but unable to give her the opportunities she deserved. By morning, Jonathan had made a decision that would change not just Sophia and Maria's lives, but the entire culture of his company. He was going to do something that his board of directors might think was crazy. But sometimes the best business decisions come from the heart, not from spreadsheets. Sophia had taught him 9 languages worth of lessons in just one evening. Now it was his turn to teach her something about opportunity. The next day felt different for Sophia. She sat in her regular classes, but her mind kept wandering back to the CEO's words. What if being smart could pay for college? What did he mean by that? She had replayed the conversation in her head 100 times, trying to understand what Mr. Mitchell wanted to talk about. Her math teacher was explaining algebra problems that Sophia had mastered 2 years ago. She tried to pay attention, but it was hard when she already knew everything being taught. This happened in most of her classes. The work was too easy, but there was no money for advanced programs or private schools that might challenge her more. During lunch, Sophia sat with her friend Chen, who had moved to America from Taiwan 3 years ago. They often spoke in Mandarin together, which helped Chen feel less homesick and gave Sophia someone to practice with. "You seem worried today," Chen said in Mandarin, noticing Sophia picking at her sandwich without eating. "My mom's boss wants to talk to us after school." Sophia replied also in Mandarin, "I don't know why, but it makes me nervous." "Did you do something wrong?" "I don't think so. But rich people don't usually want to talk to people like us unless there's a problem." Chen nodded understandingly. His family had struggled too when they first arrived. His parents worked in a restaurant, saving every penny so Chen could have better opportunities than they had. After school, Sophia walked slowly toward the Techno-Global building. Her mother was already there, looking just as nervous as Sophia felt. Maria had barely slept the night before, worrying about what the CEO wanted. In her experience, when bosses called special meetings, it usually meant bad news. "Maybe he wants to offer you a better job," Sophia suggested hopefully as they rode the elevator to the 40th floor. Maria shook her head. "Men like him don't give better jobs to women like me, Misha. We should just be grateful if we're not in trouble." The elevator doors opened to the executive floor. Sophia had never been up here before. Everything looked expensive and important. The carpets were thick, the furniture was made of real wood, and the windows offered amazing views of the city below. Mr. Mitchell's secretary, an older woman named Patricia, smiled warmly at them. "He's waiting for you," she said kindly. "Don't be nervous. He's actually very nice when you get to know him." Jonathan's office was bigger than Sophia's entire bedroom. One wall was covered with framed degrees and awards. Another wall had photos of him meeting with important people from around the world. His desk was made of dark wood and was so clean it looked like no one ever used it. But when Jonathan stood up to greet them, He didn't seem as scary as Sophia had expected. He was tall and wore an expensive suit, but his smile looked genuine. He gestured for them to sit in comfortable chairs across from his desk. "Thank you both for coming," he said, sitting down so he wasn't towering over them. "I hope you weren't too worried about this meeting." Maria spoke first. "Are we in trouble, Mr. Mitchell? If Sophia disturbed your work yesterday, I'm very sorry. It won't happen again." Jonathan held up his hand. "Please, you're not in trouble at all. Actually, I asked you here because I can't stop thinking about what I witnessed yesterday. Sophia, what you did was remarkable." Sophia looked confused. "I was just helping my friends with their homework." "Helping your friends?" Jonathan repeated. "Sophia, you were teaching college-level concepts in 9 different languages. That's not just homework help. That's extraordinary." He leaned forward in his chair. "I want to understand more about you. Tell me about school. What's it like for you?" Sophia glanced at her mother, who nodded encouragingly. "School is okay, I guess. Most of the work is pretty easy. I finish my assignments quickly and then help other students who are struggling. What subjects do you like best?" Sophia's eyes brightened. "I love everything, really. Languages are amazing because each one shows you a different way of thinking about the world. Math is like solving puzzles. History helps you understand why the world is the way it is today. Science explains how everything works. And you learn all this from school?" Sophia shook her head. "Not really. School teaches basic things, but I want to learn more. So I use the library and free websites. There are professors from famous universities who put their lectures online for free. I watch those and take notes just like I'm really in their classes." Jonathan was amazed. "How many hours a day do you spend studying?" "It's not really studying," Sophia said. "It's fun. I probably spend 4 or 5 hours after school and work reading or watching lectures or helping other kids. On weekends, maybe 8 hours if I don't have to work extra shifts at the grocery store." "You work at a grocery store?" Maria answered this time. "Sophia works 20 hours a week bagging groceries and stocking shelves. The money helps pay for our rent and food." Jonathan felt that twist in his chest again. This brilliant girl was spending her time bagging groceries instead of in advanced classes where she belonged. "Sophia, what do you dream about doing with your life?" For the first time since entering the office, Sophia really smiled. "I want to work for the United Nations or maybe the State Department. I want to help countries that don't understand each other find ways to communicate and solve problems together. There are so many conflicts in the world that happen just because people don't understand each other's cultures or languages. That's a beautiful dream," Jonathan said softly. "What would you need to make that dream come true?" Sophia's smile faded. "A college degree, probably several degrees. International relations programs are really competitive. I'd need to go to a good university, maybe even graduate school, but—" She trailed off. "But what?" Maria spoke up, her voice quiet but strong. "But we don't have money for college, Mr. Mitchell. I work 3 jobs, cleaning here at night, cleaning houses on weekends, and doing laundry for people in our neighborhood. Sophia works too. We can barely pay rent and buy food. College costs more money than we'll ever have." "Have you looked into scholarships?" Jonathan asked. "Some," Sophia said. "But there are thousands of kids applying for the same scholarships. Most of them go to students whose schools have special programs to help them apply. My school counselor is nice, but she has 300 students to help. She doesn't have time to work with me on complicated scholarship applications." Jonathan was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he asked, "Sophia, if money wasn't a problem, where would you want to go to college?" Sophia's eyes lit up again. "Stanford has an amazing international relations program. So does Georgetown. Harvard has great language programs too. Columbia has professors who work directly with the UN." She paused. "But those schools cost like $50,000 a year. That's more money than my mom makes in 3 years. What if I told you that money didn't have to be a problem?" Jonathan said quietly. Both Maria and Sophia stared at him. Maria looked suspicious, like she was waiting for the catch. Sophia looked hopeful, but confused. "I don't understand, Sophia," said. Jonathan stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the city below. Sophia, in the business world, we talk a lot about untapped resources, oil that hasn't been discovered, markets that haven't been developed, talent that hasn't been recognized. He turned back to face them. Yesterday, I discovered the most valuable untapped resource I've ever encountered. What do you mean? Maria asked. Your daughter, Jonathan said simply. Sophia, you have abilities that most people never develop in their entire lives. You've taught yourself more than most college graduates know. You speak 9 languages fluently. You understand complex subjects that challenge university students. And most importantly, you have a desire to use your abilities to help make the world better. Sophia was still confused. But I'm just a kid. I don't have any special training, or certificates or anything. Do you know what I do for a living? Jonathan asked. I run a company that works with businesses all over the world. Every day I need people who can communicate across language barriers, understand different cultures, and solve complex problems. I pay consultants thousands of dollars to do work that you could probably do better. He sat back down and looked directly at Sophia. What I'm about to offer you might sound crazy, but I want you to hear me out. Maria leaned forward, still suspicious but curious. I want to create a scholarship program, Jonathan continued. Not just any scholarship, but a comprehensive program that would pay for your entire college education, provide mentorship, offer internship opportunities, and guarantee you a job after graduation if you want it. Sophia's mouth fell open. You want to pay for my college? I want to invest in your potential, Jonathan corrected. But there's more. Sophia, I'd like to offer you a part-time job starting immediately. You'd work in our international communications department, using your language skills to help with real business projects. You'd learn how corporations work while finishing high school. The salary would help your family financially while you prepare for college. Maria started crying. Not sad tears, but tears of disbelief and hope. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for us? Jonathan's voice was gentle but firm. Because Sophia represents something that's rare in this world. Pure potential. She's brilliant, hardworking, and motivated by a desire to help others. Those qualities are more valuable than any business degree or family connections. He looked at both of them seriously. But I'm not doing this just to be nice. This is an investment. I believe Sophia will become someone who changes the world in important ways. I want my company to be part of that journey. Sophia was speechless. The room was quiet except for the sound of Maria crying softly. Finally, Sophia found her voice. What would I have to do? Jonathan smiled. Keep being exactly who you are. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep dreaming big. Let us help you reach your potential. For the first time in her life, Sophia's biggest dreams didn't seem impossible. They seemed like they were just beginning. Jonathan woke up early the next morning with his mind racing. He had made a promise to Sophia and Maria, but now he needed to figure out exactly how to keep it. Creating a scholarship program wasn't something you could do overnight. There were legal papers to file, budgets to approve, and most importantly, he needed to convince his board of directors that this was a smart business decision. He arrived at his office an hour before anyone else and immediately called his assistant, Patricia. I need you to set up meetings with 3 people today, he told her. Linda from Human Resources, David from Corporate Development, and Rebecca from our legal department. Tell them it's urgent. Patricia had been working with Jonathan for 12 years. She could tell when he had one of his big ideas brewing. Should I clear your whole morning? She asked. Clear the whole day if you need to, Jonathan replied. This is important. By 9 o'clock, the 3 department heads were sitting in Jonathan's conference room, wondering why they had been called to an emergency meeting. Linda Thompson from HR was a practical woman in her 50s who had seen every kind of corporate program come and go. David Park from Corporate Development was younger and always looking for new ways to grow the company. Rebecca Martinez from Legal was cautious by nature, always thinking about what could go wrong. Jonathan stood at the front of the room feeling more nervous than he had in years. He was about to propose something that had never been done at their company before. I want to start a scholarship program, he began. But not just any scholarship program. I want to create something that finds and supports exceptional young people from backgrounds that usually don't get these opportunities. Linda leaned forward. What kind of budget are we talking about? I'm thinking we start with 20 students per year. Full college scholarships plus mentorship, internships, and job placement after graduation. Each student would cost us about $50,000 per year for 4 years. So we're looking at about $4 million annually once the program is fully running. Rebecca nearly choked on her coffee. $4 million? Jonathan, the board will never approve that kind of spending on charity. It's not charity, Jonathan said firmly. It's investment in future talent. Let me tell you what inspired this idea. He told them about Sophia, describing her language abilities, her self-directed learning, and her dreams of working in international relations. He explained how she was working at a grocery store instead of preparing for college, not because she lacked ability, but because she lacked opportunity. This girl has more practical skills than half our international team, Jonathan continued. She's teaching herself subjects that our employees needed college degrees to learn, and we almost missed her completely because she's invisible to us. Her mother cleans our offices at night. David was intrigued. So you're saying there are more kids like her out there? I'm certain of it, Jonathan replied. Think about all the service workers in this building. Cleaning staff, security guards, food service workers. How many of them have brilliant children who are being overlooked because they don't go to the right schools or live in the right neighborhoods? Linda was taking notes. How would we find these students? That's where it gets interesting, Jonathan said, warming up to his subject. We partner with schools in underserved communities. We look for kids with exceptional grades despite difficult circumstances. Students who are working jobs to help their families but still maintaining high academic performance. Kids who are teaching themselves advanced subjects or helping other students learn. Rebecca was still focused on the legal aspects. What about liability? What if a student drops out or doesn't perform well? What about discrimination lawsuits from students who don't get selected? We'll have clear, objective criteria, Jonathan explained. Academic performance, demonstrated self-motivation, community involvement, and evidence of exceptional ability in areas that align with our business needs. Languages, mathematics, computer science, international studies. We're not just giving away money. We're identifying and developing talent that will benefit our company. Linda asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Jonathan, this is a beautiful idea, but how do we sell this to the board? They care about profits, not social programs. Jonathan walked to the whiteboard and started writing numbers. Let's talk about return on investment. Right now, we spend about $2 million per year on recruiting fees to find qualified employees. We spend another $1 million on training new hires. And we lose about $3 million annually when good employees leave for better opportunities elsewhere. He turned back to face them. What if we could develop a pipeline of highly motivated, exceptionally skilled employees who already understand our company culture and feel personally loyal to our organization? Students who graduate college debt-free and see us as the company that made their dreams possible. David was starting to see the vision. They'd be more likely to stay with us long-term. Exactly. And they'd bring diverse perspectives and skills that we're currently missing. Sophia speaks 9 languages. How much do we pay external translators and cultural consultants each year? Rebecca looked up from her legal pad. About $800,000 annually. Right. One student like Sophia could save us that entire cost while bringing additional value we can't even measure yet. The room was quiet as everyone absorbed the implications. Finally, Linda spoke up. What would the program look like day to day? Jonathan had been thinking about this all night. We start small, 5 students in the first year, including Sophia. Each student gets a full scholarship to the college of their choice, plus a laptop and textbooks. During school breaks and summers, they work as paid interns in different departments here, learning our business from the ground up. What about mentorship? David asked. Each student gets paired with a senior executive who meets with them monthly to provide guidance and career advice. We also bring them to company events, introduce them to industry leaders, and help them build professional networks. Rebecca was warming up to the idea. If we structure this correctly as a corporate education investment rather than a charity program, we might actually get tax benefits that offset some of the costs. There's more, Jonathan continued. I want to offer part-time positions to exceptional students while they're still in high school. Sophia, for example, could work in our international communications department 10 hours per week, using her language skills on real projects while learning business practices. Linda was impressed despite herself. That could actually help with our current staffing shortage in that department. And think about the publicity, David added, his marketing mind spinning. A program like this would position us as a socially responsible company. That attracts customers, especially younger consumers who care about corporate values. It also helps with recruiting other talented employees who want to work for companies that make a positive impact. Jonathan nodded. But the real benefit isn't public relations. It's the talent we'll develop. These won't be average employees. They'll be people who overcame significant obstacles to achieve excellence. They'll be grateful, motivated, and incredibly hardworking. Rebecca had been scribbling notes furiously. We'll need detailed application processes, academic monitoring systems, and clear performance expectations. But honestly, Jonathan, this could work, if we're careful about how we structure it. What's our next step? Linda asked. Jonathan had already thought about this too. I want to present a pilot program to the board next week. We start with Sophia and 4 other students we identify over the next month. Total cost for the first year would be about $250,000. If it works, we expand. What about Sophia specifically? David asked. When would she start? Immediately. I want to offer her a part-time position starting this weekend. She can work Saturday mornings in international communications, helping with translation projects and cultural consulting. We pay her $15 an hour, which will help her family while she finishes high school. Linda was already thinking about logistics. We'll need to set up a workspace for her, get her security clearance, and assign her to a supervisor who understands she's still learning. I've already thought about that, Jonathan said. Patricia has agreed to supervise her initially. Sophia will work on projects that match her skill level but also challenge her to grow. Rebecca looked up from her notes. Jonathan, I have to ask, are you sure this isn't just about feeling good? Because if this program fails, it's going to cost us a lot of money and credibility. Jonathan was quiet for a moment, thinking about Sophia's voice switching between languages, her passion for learning, her dreams of helping countries understand each other better. Rebecca, I've been in business for 25 years. I've seen a lot of smart people and made a lot of good investments, but I've never seen raw talent like what I witnessed 2 days ago. This girl taught herself 9 languages using library books and free internet resources. She's helping college students with advanced coursework while working at a grocery store to help pay her family's rent. He looked around the room at his 3 senior employees. If we can't find a way to nurture and develop that kind of potential, then we're not as smart as we think we are. Linda closed her notebook. All right, I'm convinced. What do you need from each of us to make this happen? Linda, I need you to work with Rebecca on the legal framework and application process. David, I need you to help me create a presentation for the board that shows the business case clearly. And Rebecca, I need you to make sure we're protected, legally while still being able to move quickly. When do you want to present to the board? David asked. Next Friday. That gives us 1 week to put together a comprehensive proposal. As the meeting ended and everyone filed out to start working on their assignments, Jonathan felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He was about to bet his reputation on a 16-year-old girl who spoke 9 languages and a program that had never been tried before. But sometimes the biggest risks lead to the most important rewards. And Jonathan had a feeling that Sophia was going to prove that taking chances on exceptional people was the smartest business decision he had ever made. 6 months later, Sophia walked through the same glass doors of Techno Global Industries, but everything had changed. Instead of following her mother with cleaning supplies, she carried a leather briefcase and wore professional clothes. She had her own security badge, her own desk, and her own business cards that read Sofia Rodriguez, International Communications Assistant. But the most amazing change wasn't in her appearance or her title. It was in her confidence. The shy girl who had whispered about speaking 9 languages was now presenting business proposals to rooms full of executives. This particular morning was special. Sofia was about to give her biggest presentation yet, and the entire office was buzzing with excitement. Word had spread throughout the company about the remarkable young woman who had started as the janitor's daughter and was now helping the company expand into new international markets. Jonathan arrived early to check on the conference room setup. In 30 minutes, Sofia would present her 6-month project report to the board of directors, senior executives, and several potential investors who had heard about the Hidden Gems initiative and wanted to see results. Patricia, Jonathan's assistant, was arranging folders on the conference table. "She's been here since 6 this morning practicing her presentation," she told Jonathan with a proud smile. "I've never seen anyone work as hard as that girl." Through the glass walls of the conference room, Jonathan could see Sofia at the front of the room, rehearsing her speech while Maria sat in the back row, wearing the navy blue suit they had bought together for this special day. Maria was no longer just a cleaning lady either. She had been promoted to facilities manager and now supervised a team of 12 maintenance workers. But she had asked for the morning off to watch her daughter's presentation. At exactly 9 o'clock, the conference room filled with people. The 12 board members sat around the large table looking skeptical but curious. Behind them sat department heads, senior managers, and the 3 investors who had flown in from different cities just to see what all the excitement was about. Jonathan stood to introduce Sofia, but before he could speak, she stepped forward, with a confidence that surprised even him. "Good morning, everyone," Sofia began in perfect English. "6 months ago, I was helping my mother clean these offices at night. Today, I'm here to show you how one opportunity can change not just a life, but an entire company." She clicked a button on her remote, and the first slide appeared on the large screen behind her. It showed a graph with impressive upward trends. "When Mr. Mitchell offered me a part-time position in international communications, I started working 10 hours per week on basic translation projects. Today, I want to share with you what we've accomplished together." Sofia's presentation was flawless. She spoke with the polish of someone who had been giving business presentations for years, not months. She explained how her language skills had helped the company secure 3 major contracts in Latin America, 2 in Asia, and 1 in the Middle East. "These 6 contracts represent $14.7 million in new revenue," she said, clicking to the next slide. "But the real value isn't just in the immediate sales, it's in the relationships we've built and the markets we've opened for future growth." One of the investors, an older man named William Chen, raised his hand. "Sofia, can you give us a specific example of how your work made a difference?" Sofia smiled confidently. "Absolutely. 3 months ago, we were struggling to communicate with a potential client in Saudi Arabia. Our previous translator was providing technically correct translations, but he didn't understand the cultural context. I was able to adjust our proposal to show respect for their business customs and decision-making process. We won a $4 million contract that we had almost lost." She clicked to another slide showing testimonials from international clients. "But it's not just about language translation. When you understand multiple cultures deeply, you can help people from different countries find common ground. That's what really creates successful business relationships." David Park from Corporate Development was taking detailed notes. He had been skeptical about the program initially, but the results were undeniable. "Sofia, what's been the most challenging part of transitioning from student to business professional?" "Learning to think like a business person while still thinking like a student," Sofia replied thoughtfully. "In school, there's usually one right answer to every question. In business, you have to find solutions that work for multiple people, with different needs and priorities." Rebecca Martinez from Legal asked, "How has this experience changed your plans for college and your career?" Sofia's eyes lit up. "It's made my dreams bigger and more specific. I still want to work in international relations, but now I understand how business and diplomacy connect. I've been accepted to Stanford University with a full scholarship through our Hidden Gems program, and I plan to double major in international relations and business administration. The room buzzed with murmurs of approval. Getting into Stanford was impressive enough, but doing it while working and maintaining perfect grades was extraordinary. Jonathan felt a surge of pride as he watched Sophia handle questions from some of the most successful business people in the city. But he also felt something else: vindication. The board members who had questioned the wisdom of the Hidden Gems initiative were now seeing the results firsthand. "Sophia," said board member Margaret Foster, "can you tell us about the other students in the program? How are they performing?" Sophia clicked to a slide showing photos and brief descriptions of 4 other students who had joined the program after her. Miguel speaks 5 languages and is working in our European markets division. Lisa has exceptional mathematical abilities and is helping our data analysis team. Ahmad understands Middle Eastern business culture and is supporting our expansion into that region. And Chen has incredible computer programming skills and is developing new software tools for our international communications. She paused and looked around the room. Each of these students brings unique talents that our company didn't have before. But more importantly, they bring perspective. When you grow up facing challenges, you become really good at solving problems. Creatively, William Chen, the investor, leaned forward. "Sophia, I have to ask, do you ever feel pressure being the first student in this program? Knowing that your success determines whether other students get the same opportunity?" Sophia was quiet for a moment, considering her answer carefully. "I do feel that responsibility, and it motivates me to work harder. But I also know that this program isn't just about me. It's about proving that talent exists everywhere, even in places where people don't usually look for it." She clicked to her final slide, which showed a map of the world with pins marking all the countries where TechnoGlobal now had new business relationships. 6 months ago, this company was primarily focused on English-speaking markets. Today, we're successfully operating in 23 countries across 6 continents. That expansion wasn't possible before because we didn't have the cultural understanding and language skills to build those relationships. Jonathan stood up as Sophia finished her presentation. "I want to share some additional numbers with you," he said. "The Hidden Gems initiative has cost us approximately $300,000 in its first 6 months. The contracts Sophia mentioned have brought in over $14 million. That's a return on investment of more than 4,000%. The room was completely silent. Even the most skeptical board members couldn't argue with those numbers. But the financial return is just part of the story, Jonathan continued. This program has changed our company culture. Our employees are more engaged because they're proud to work for a company that invests in people. We're attracting better job candidates because word has spread about our values. And we're building a pipeline of exceptional talent that will serve us for decades to come." Margaret Foster stood up and started clapping. Soon the entire room was applauding Sophia, who looked both proud and slightly overwhelmed by the response. After the presentation ended, and most people had left, Sophia sat alone in the conference room with Jonathan and Maria. She was processing everything that had just happened. "I can't believe this is real," she said quietly. "A year ago, I was worried about having enough money for lunch at school. Now I'm presenting to investors and going to Stanford University." Maria wiped tears from her eyes. "Mia, you've worked so hard for this. You deserve every good thing that's happening." Jonathan sat down across from them. "Sophia, I want you to know that what you've accomplished these past 6 months has exceeded every expectation I had. But I also want you to remember something important." "What's that?" Sophia asked. "This is just the beginning. You're going to Stanford, but you're also going to keep working with us during breaks and summers. After you graduate, if you want, there will be a permanent position waiting for you here. But honestly, I think you're going to have opportunities we can't even imagine yet." Sophia nodded, then looked at her mother. "Mom, do you remember what you told me when I was little? You said that in America, if you work hard enough, anything is possible." Maria smiled through her tears. "I said that, but I didn't always believe it myself. You made me believe it's true." As they walked out of the conference room together, other employees stopped to congratulate Sophia. The security guard who had watched her grow up over the past months gave her a thumbs up. The receptionist handed her a card signed by everyone in the building. But the moment that meant the most to Sophia happened as they waited for the elevator. A young woman approached them hesitantly. She was wearing a cleaning uniform and looked nervous. "Excuse me," the woman said quietly. "Are you Sophia Rodriguez?" "Yes," Sophia replied. "My name is Carmen. I clean the offices on the 20th floor. I heard about your presentation today, and I wanted to ask you something." She paused, gathering courage. "My son is 14 years old and he's really smart, but we don't have money for college. Would there be a chance for him in this program?" Sophia looked at Jonathan, who nodded with a smile. "Carmen," Sophia said, "bring your son to meet Mr. Mitchell next week. If he's willing to work hard and dream big, there's definitely a chance." As the elevator doors closed, Sophia realized that her story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. She had become proof that talent and opportunity could create miracles. And now she was going to help make sure other kids got the same chance she had received. The janitor's daughter, who spoke 9 languages, had become something even more powerful, a bridge between worlds, showing everyone that extraordinary potential can be found in the most ordinary places.